Hi everyone. So we are half an hour earlier than we normally are, and hopefully Amanda will join us soon here. Um, yeah, life and things, and thank you so much for being flexible if you are here to join us. Um, Sonnet 146 is really awesome sonnet, and Amanda and I are both really excited to be sharing this with you. Um, I think I see Amanda. Let's see if we can get her connected. Um, we have a lot of really awesome things to say about 146. Hello, yes, Amanda. Yes. Oh, look, we got so many people.
Yay!
Hey,
Hi. Oh, sorry, my head is cut off. Let me figure this out. There we go.
I'm not, I can't quite hear you. Hold on.
How's
Okay,
it going?
it's going great. How's it going with you?
Good. We just had a crazy thunderstorm like about 20 minutes ago. The door slammed shut and the plant and the fan fell off the ledge and everything shook, and now it's raining like crazy.
That sounds awesome and amazing and very fitting for this sonnet.
Exactly. In Shakespeare's world, when there's some sort of disturbance, there's always a bad weather event. So it's very appropriate.
Um, okay, so welcome everybody who is here. To start off, once again, if this is the first time you're joining us, we have been dedicating each of these sonnets to someone in our lives or in our world who has passed from the coronavirus. The numbers out there, we just have to keep reminding ourselves that they represent people, and this loss is really severe. So today, 146 is dedicated to Jane Elizabeth Boston Jordan. She was born in the Germantown section of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She attended Philadelphia Public Schools, Fulton, and Germantown High, which were the same schools she later came back to teach at. She had an unparalleled love for history, especially the history of women, African Americans, and Philadelphia. She was a devoted teacher and a mentor who always made herself available to her students. She was 78. Um, I also wanted to let everybody know, if you know somebody who has passed from COVID-19 and would like to share their story,
I'd be happy to.
legacy.com.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Say that again.
I was saying we might be happy to give them a shout out as well.
We are honored. We would be absolutely honored to dedicate a sonnet to them. But what I was going to say was legacy.com has created a coronavirus memorial online, where you can either upload an already existing obituary, or you can write your own pictures and all that stuff. So just wanted to, for anybody who was interested in that. Okay, are we ready for 146?
Yes, bring it on.
Okay, so first I want to state that, and this is a direct quote, that 146 is apparently the site of the most virulent textual controversy of
I
any of Shakespeare's poem in the sequence. Yes, this is so exciting,
that's
everybody. You
yep.
know, for us nerds, we're like over the moon about 146. So anybody out there who's not a Shakespeare nerd, join the party.
Yep. So I'm curious to
So,
see what you put in it or how you're going
okay,
to
so
handle
I,
this.
I, okay, so for everybody, the way that this sonnet, this poem was printed in its first edition, the very first two lines read, "Poor soul, the center of my sinful earth, these rebel powers that thee array." And it was thought that the repetition of "my sinful earth" at the beginning of the second line, from the end of the first line, was a printer's mistake. And
Yes.
that's not what was actually written. Because if you know about printing, back then you had these tiny little letters that you had to put in individually, and it became very tedious and very boring, and mistakes were often made because people just, put in random whatever they felt like. So there's been this huge controversy of what those words actually were, because the way it reads with the repetition, it doesn't fit anything. It doesn't fit a rhyme scheme. It doesn't fit the poetry. It literally makes no sense. So everybody agrees that it can't possibly be right. So I looked into the Oxford, I looked into the Riverside, and they're all great substitutes. Everybody has like a great idea. So I just decided to go with the no fear version, which I'll read. But normally, what people do now in printing these is they'll write the first line, "Poor soul, the center of my sinful earth," and then they'll put an ellipses, ... inside parentheses, and eliminate all of that, the printer's mistake, and then continue, "These rebel powers that thee array." So if you ever see Sonnet 146 written and you see that, that is the reason, because we don't actually know what was supposed to be there. Okay, so having said all of that, are we ready to hear it?
Yes, bring it on.
Okay, and then I want to hear what version you have.
I have a couple things.
Sweet. "Poor soul, the center of my sinful earth, thrall to these rebel powers that thee array. Why dost thou pine within and suffer dearth, painting thy outward walls so costly gay? Why so large cost, having so short a lease, dost thou upon thy fading mansion spend? Shall worms, inheritors of this excess, eat up thy charge? Is this thy body's end? Then, soul, live thou upon thy servant's loss, and let that pine to aggravate thy store. By terms divine in selling hours of dross, within be fed, without be rich no more. So shalt thou feed on death that feeds on men, and death once dead, there's no more dying then."
Nice, very nice.
So
Can
the
I just say
reason why,
this sonnet contains two of my favorite words, dearth and dross. Both excellent. Two good D words.
um, the reason why I like the no fear is because I love the word thrall.
There
So
you go.
the poor soul, the center of my sinful earth, thrall to these rebel powers that be arrayed. Just so, it's so juicy and powerful. It's like really lovely. What version do you have?
Well, right here I have the Riverside Shakespeare, and I also did some research just online on Wikipedia and a couple other places. And
Oh yeah,
those
there's a bunch.
sources online seem to favor feeding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've also seen trapped by, fenced, foiled, pressed with. Like there's just a lot of, but I mean, but all the words are the same. That it's a confined. It's enslaved to, like.
Right. Something has power over them at that moment.
Right. Yeah. But that's
So
why I like thrall.
Yeah, Riverside
Sorry.
gives thrall to us the first one, then hemmed with, then fooled by, and then feeding as the fourth one. I mean, they're all great choices.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
that there is one sonnet here where you can be like, well, I choose this word, and make it a little bit more one's own.
I also love that this is the first one that we have read, that is the author talking to their soul and saying, "Oh, my soul, you are dying because all you care about is being pretty on the outside." And I've kind of extended in my head what pretty on the outside means. So not just in my head, it's not just, makeup and nice hair and, like, looking glamorous, but also maybe the wall, the facade of, like, of what society thinks you should be, right?
Absolutely. And even just social standing, things like that. But all those
Yes,
are
status.
fleeting and only for the mortal world. And this comes up a lot in earlier sonnets, like literally the earlier ones, not the earlier
Right.
ones we've read, um, but with just that sense that through your verse or through what you write or through your children, you're going to live forever, but your body and all of those other things are merely
Yeah.
mortal and fleeting. Yeah. Didn't we just have one that was sort of had a little bit of that in it? Maybe not.
I don't recall.
No, you're right. This might be the first one that is starting to bring in a little bit more of that immortality.
This is also one of the only ones. Actually, is it the only one? Um, no, I think there are a few others, but there's very, very few that brings in that piously religious tone.
Uh-huh.
The think by what's the line? Hold on. By terms divine. So it's BUY for those of you that don't have the text in front of you. So literally purchase terms divine. So buy your way into heaven by feeding your soul, by having a good soul and having all of that, and not worrying about the exterior. And in the sonnets, very rarely does that kind of pious look to heaven
Oh, nice.
come up. Yeah, it's like
Oh, I know
anyway.
why I was thinking that we had read one of those, is because I was considering, when we did the memorial for Kristen, I was considering reading my sonnet, and that's the subject of Sonnet 44, which is
Oh,
like
cool.
that words and writings will far outlive things like stone, and time is something that flows through and destroys all of us, but text can live on, which is what Shakespeare is doing by us even face or Instagramming about him across the country in 2020. Um, but yeah, I love the language in this one. The dross and dearth, and just that it gives that idea of worms feeding on a corpse. Just
Which the worms is a really beautiful mirror back to the first line. So poor soul, the center of my sinful earth, right? So that
yep,
this meat bag, right? This
meat
earth
bag.
is then going to be eaten up by worms.
Yes. Yep, and that's I think maybe why some people do choose feeding in the sonnet, because it has that idea of being consumed, and that sort of runs through it as a theme,
Yeah,
and
maybe.
happens in other sonnets as well.
And
And
so what do you say about this rhyming the rhyming couplet, the conclusion? What
mhm.
what is the answer to our soul pining away in a beautiful mansion?
Oh, well, it's a nice little turnaround, right? So thou shalt feed on death that feeds on men, and death once dead, there's no more dying then. It's saying that death consumes our bodies, but if you find a way to become immortal, then you're killing death. So it's a comforting way to say, well, okay, we may all die physically, but you can conquer or control death or have death in your thrall if you find another way to become immortal.
And specifically in this one, the immortality is having a good soul.
Yeah.
It's and which is different from other of the sonnets, which the immortality comes in the physical things, like writing a poem that lasts for 500 years, or having children that then your DNA keeps going on, right? This
Yeah.
is this is literally about your inner moral life, right?
Yeah. Which is
So
funny because Shakespeare
interesting.
doesn't generally come across as religious. I mean, you look at Lear, you look at other. That's not a trope or a thing that he's into
Right,
as a
yeah, which
writer.
is why
So,
the like I said, the talking about the buying the terms divine, like buying your way into heaven by having a way,
yeah.
is like this does not he does not talk about this in the sonnets. This is not a
Yep.
theme, like you said, not a trope.
You.
And actually, I had not thought about, well, some of his kings in some of his history plays do talk about that.
Yeah.
Doesn't Richard II, when he's in the tower in prison, doesn't he talk about
Um,
religion, the religious factor, or
he's
the
not.
pious factor?
He does talk about religion, and he talks about some biblical verses in particular. He talks about the the moment where people are on a camel going through the eye of the needle, and how you can't take your things with you if you have too many objects with you. You really, literally can't get to heaven. Um, so he talks about materialism maybe holding people back, but it doesn't come across as really religious. I don't think. I mean, I'm sure some people might argue that, and I would say that's also a character. Although the sonnets also are characterized, they're not always literal, um, straight from the. You can't read them as, oh, this is exactly what Shakespeare thought, So there are certainly characters within Shakespeare's plays that are quite religious. I mean,
Oh,
really,
Henry VI too.
yeah,
Um,
or even religious people, the friars and
right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
nuns and people from all sorts of plays.
Well, awesome. Anything else you want to say about 146?
No, nice read. Thanks. And this is a good one. I love it. And thank you for those
Excellent.
people who joined us today. Who do we have? We have Reno Rambler and Riseman 318, Rock Machine, Montana Shakespeare, all those folks that are there with us today. Thanks so much for joining us. And
Yeah. Thank
anytime
you.
you have
Thank you.
questions, we'd love to talk to you too.
Oh yeah. If anybody ever has anything they want to say, more than welcome to
Yep,
hop in and join. Well, thank you, Amanda. It was so lovely seeing you. And have fun in
you
the
as
rain.
well. I will. Take care.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.
Thanks.